Welcome, everyone, to our Resilient Wild and Unstoppable interview series. And today we get to talk to Barb. And I am learning so much from her. And now it's time for you all to learn some goodness and some amazing, valuable tips from her. And she taps into something that is not as familiar to me. So I'm going to have her explain it. So I'm curious, Barb, what led you into this spiritual life path that you follow and all the tools and goodness that you bring into that skill that you have?
Well, I'm 73 now, and 52 years ago, I had an extraordinary awakening. I was just able to see and know everything about someone's soul journey and what they're bringing to this lifetime and where that came from, all the past life um, foundation for what they've chosen. And and I think that that's a key point, that people choose this life. And I meet many people who think life's just buffeting them about, and they're resentful of that or have a reaction to that. That they want what they want,
Hmm.
and wanting is part of the spiritual journey. I find myself reacting when I hear people wanting stuff or trying to manifest stuff. I see it like little 2-year-olds stamping their feet. I want, I want. And the irony, the cosmic joke is that we receive what we need when we're no longer attached, when we've surrendered our attachment. So recently I've just come from Britain to live in New Zealand again after a 30-year gap. And one of the things I loved to do in Britain was swim down the river and pick watercress on the way down and chop it up for my lunch when I got home. I
Wow.
thought that wouldn't be possible here. And I wake up one morning when it had been raining, and in the ditch outside my yard is watercress growing in profusion.
So you
So
let go and it appears.
yes, yes. I'm very grateful. But it just is making me laugh my head off because that's how it works. It waits till you don't need it anymore when you're not demanding it. And and then it shows up in abundance.
That's super powerful. And with, because I know we talked about, you and I talked about, your spiritual life gifts and your past life understandings and gifts and readings. And now we've come to manifestation. And I'm curious with the gifts that you have, which I know are in abundance, and we only tapped on like a little tiny bit of it. What what are the benefits that you see in helping others understand these superpowers that you have?
So when people work through their past lives, or when they understand that they are just repeating old things that have happened, it could be your parents are definitely people you've been with before, your siblings, the local shopkeeper. I had an experience when I ran a campsite and pub where the whole neighborhood had been part of a past life that had stoned me to death. And
Oh,
I was there 14 years, and in that 14 years, I met the neighborhood, obviously, but I also met each of them as they had been in that past life and what had happened then to unfold it. So, so getting back to your question, what I see is freedom, a freedom to be able to put the past back where it belongs, where you can easily see that the feelings that you have, the overreaction to things in this lifetime, um, are because it's triggered a memory. And once you have that freedom, it opens an expanse for a life of joy and love and abundance and miracles.
Mm-hmm.
I see that co-creation with the universe. The universe isn't just dumping stuff on me, it's unfolding what I chose. It's working with me to gift me the experiences that I need for my next growth step. And that's true for everyone on the planet.
That sounds powerful in its own because, like you said, there are so many seeking that path to manifestation. How do we get on that path? How do we actually believe while we're on the path? How do we set ourselves up for success and not go, huh, well, it doesn't work for me, which I have heard many say. And then they stop this path and they go to this path and go to this path and go to this path. What are some valuable tips that you can share to help those that are really on that discovery of what's keeping them stuck and what can help them step into that manifestation power?
So I think that the biggest moment for me was separating out what I think and feel from my intuition. And so, so to put it differently, I see most people on the planet still identifying as if they are their thoughts and feelings. They'll have an opinion that they're stuck on, that they think is the right one. And it makes me laugh because how many millions of us on the planet all thinking we're the right one?
No, it's me.
I'm right. And it's a survival mechanism. It is something that our egos developed when we were children that gives us an anchor into the world and and helps us get what we need when we're small children, but we're no longer small children. We're grown up and we're still behaving in that survival mechanism as if we're dependent on manipulating the people around us or getting our energy from the people around us. And that's a huge thing to separate. The minute that I got that I make up my thoughts and feelings, that they're fleeting, that I can change my mind at any moment, that my feelings will alter. I, for instance, when I ran my pub, I would have music playing, there'd be a band. I could see English people desperate to dance, but nobody would get up. I'd be out in the kitchen helping with the meals. The minute the meals were finished, and I'd be dog tired from a 14-hour day at that stage, I'd come out and I would see that my next job was to start dancing, to get people up on the dance floor. And it would only take a few minutes of my dancing before everyone was up around me. And the miracle would be that I'd be no longer dog tired. I'd the music would have inhabited me. I'd be up for dancing for
Mhm.
another couple or 3 hours. So so feelings and mood and thoughts, they govern our lives if we let them. We think that that's the source of our life, and it's not. It's just something we made up and something we can change in a moment. And even if we don't change it, it doesn't affect who I am. I'm not that.
Right.
I am who I say I am. So that's one big shift. And when my partner died 11 years ago now, nearly, uh, and I was in grief and still running my campsite and my pub, and I had a canoe hire business, I would say to people, I understand you've booked your holiday. Don't worry about my tears. You can rely on me to make sure that you're safe in your canoe trip and you'll get looked after. And my tears are just my tears. So it it has put me in a way of knowing myself to be reliable no matter what's going on in my life.
Mm-hmm. And that's powerful. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say it that way. And it's a powerful statement that I think people will, I don't know if they will relate to it, but it will have them thinking of what's possible that maybe they didn't think about.
So the next tool is gratitude. I find it took me 2 years to learn to think positively. There's some kind of statistic that says most people, and I was one of them, that have a negative thought 97% of the time. And and I'm here to testify that we can turn that around. We have a choice about what we think. So we don't have to always think suspiciously or think maybe we weren't good enough or think what's that person thinking of us.
Right.
I
Yes.
used I used a diary, and in the way that synchronicity works in my life, this diary just arrived, and it had three-quarters of a page for what had happened during my day, in the way a normal diary works, and then it had two questions at the bottom. It said, "What was the gift in that day?" and "What did you learn?" And to begin with, I'd be screaming at the page. I'd be saying, "What are you talking about? That so and so person did such and such to me. Where's the gift in that?"
Yeah.
And I trained myself to see that the universe, no matter how annoying it is and how unlikely it is just gifting me my next lessons. And if I have a reaction about something someone else has done with a little bit of introspection, it, the light bulb goes on. I think, it's about me, not about them.
Yeah.
And I have a little illustration. Would you like me to tell you the story of a time when I learned that?
Yeah. Yes.
I I rented a room in the country in a man's house, and was there for 3 months, and he was an angry man. He didn't work. His whole life was the weekend where he went on every protest march he could find. And his day wasn't complete unless the police had battered him or he'd been arrested, or he just saw his life combatively. And I'm a gardener. I love gardening. And he had nothing growing. And so I started to make a garden in his backyard. I thought, he's got the whole week where he's not getting battered and having an argument. Why doesn't he do something instead of lying around? I was so angry with him inside me. I didn't say anything outside. And so I worked this garden and got it all going, and the resentment was growing in me. What a lazy man. Why is he so useless? And one day I looked in my little room at all my boxes of books, paperwork that I hadn't sorted out, bills that I hadn't paid, letters that I needed to reply to. And the penny dropped. I thought, hang on here, Barb. It's you that's lazy. You're out in his garden avoiding what you need to do. So I spent the weekend inside doing my paperwork, and the energy shifted. He got a job. He took over the garden that I'd started. He got a goat to do the lawn. I'd been there 3 months, and his life was no longer about fighting at the weekend. And we saw the event that had brought him to that. In this life, his mother had died when he was 12, and
Mm.
his father had remarried early. Excuse me. And the dog that he loved, his new mother, his stepmother, hated the dog, and she took it away one day. He didn't know what had happened to his dog. He still doesn't know. And that had built up such anger in him that he was just taking it out on the world. And the minute that he found out that, understood that, and could see a path to choose something different, his whole life changed. And his poor
Wow.
girlfriend, I'm sure his girlfriend's still grateful for that shift of energy.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. That is a powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes. And so much goodness that you've shared. What else you want to share as we come to a close on this interview?
So, gratitude is the doorway to love. It leads you into a world of abundance, a world of confidence that we're looked after, that we're blessed, that we don't have to strive for what we need. It comes to us when we leave space.
Mm-hmm.
And having the courage to step into that empty space, Tolly would call it being present, is the source of life and the source of your joy. The space where I know when I wake up that I don't know what the day is going to unfold. And that's exciting. It makes me curious. It might be washing my dishes, I don't know, but feeding the cats.
Yeah.
But the day will unfold as the day unfolds. I have a list of to-do things, and I'm not attached to that list. They may or may not happen. I'm open to what the universe brings me. And that fills my being with enough love for the whole planet. And just to connect the dots, I said before at the beginning about being attached to energy from each other. That transition, that gratitude, that love brings in being not attached, but having the source of my energy from divine source that never is depleted.
Yeah.
So I don't have to protect myself from anything. I'm always got enough energy for whatever it is that's in front of me.
That is amazing, fabulous, and I can feel the energy. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful hearing your stories and talking with you and learning about you. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for the space, Kat, that you provide and you're listening. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.